Well, we've had some great major prophecies given to us in Zechariah. Now, here in chapter 4 of Zechariah, we're going to kind of bring it home more to their day and age, basically. Some more prophecy and things are going to happen then. So now they've kind of seen, here's where it's all going, but let's get down to right now. Boots on the ground. Let's get this started from here moving forward. So, verse 1, and the angel that talked with me came again and waked me, as a man that is wakened out of his sleep. So now he's asleep and an angel is waking him up. So we could say this is another vision that he's having. Verse 2, and said unto me, what seest thou? And I said, I have looked, and behold, a candlestick of all of gold, with a bowl upon the top of it, and his 7 lamps thereon, and 7 pipes to the 7 lamps which are upon the top thereof. So if we look into this more, the candlestick represents Judah, who had returned from exile in Babylon. That's Dummelow in his Bible commentary mentions that. Now, verse 3, and 2 olive trees by it. So a candlestick and 2 olive trees. One upon the right side of the bowl and other upon the left side of the bowl. So there's a candlestick and a bowl and a tree on either side. In fact, Joshua and Zerubbabel can be seen as messianic types, who as spirit-filled men convey blessings from God to church and state, and are a type of the Messiah as priest and king. That's Guthrie and Motyer's New Bible Commentary. So if you think about it, this is the same in imagery, if I say that right, the same imagery that John uses in Revelations chapter 14. Okay? So if you want to pick that up after we watch this video and look at that, you'll see some similar ideas. The candlestick, the bowl, the 2 olive trees. Verse 4, so I answered and spake to the angel that talked with me, saying, what are these, my Lord? So now Zechariah is trying to understand what's going on with this vision. Verse 5, then the angel that talked with me answered and said unto me, knowest thou not what these be? And I said, no, my Lord. Then he answered and spake unto me, saying, this is the word of the Lord unto Zarubabel, saying, not by might, nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord of hosts. Now when you look at this, this is again telling him, you're not going to be victorious as a king by physical worldly means of might and power. You're only going to be there because my glory, my success. In fact, Hugh Nibley said the capstone of the temple itself is called in the Septuagint the stone of possession. Kind of the idea of the capstone of everything. So that's what this idea is. You're going to be amazing, but you need to trust in God to be amazing. Rely on God, basically. Verse 7, who art thou, O great mountain? Before Zerubbabel thou shalt become a plain, and he shall bring forth the headstone thereof with shoutings, crying, grace, grace unto it. That's this capstone concept that Hugh Nibley was mentioning. So obstacles, the mountain is an obstacle to completing the temple. They're bringing the capstone, the final piece of the temple, but there's obstacles in completing the temple. So these obstacles are going to be brought down to a plain, which means no obstacles. You can walk right across it. Okay, so obstacles will be removed, not by force or by might, but by God. Okay, very important. Always remember that. Okay, God doesn't really call us up to fight people. He calls us up to follow him, and he will deal with the battles. Verse 8, moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, the hands of Zerubbabel have laid the foundation of this house. His hands shall also finish it, and thou shalt know that the Lord of hosts hath sent me unto you. For who hath despised the day of small things? For they shall rejoice and shall see the plummet in the hand of Zerubbabel, even those 7. With those 7, they are the eyes of the Lord, which run to and fro through the whole earth. Now think about this. So Zerubbabel, the governor, he's been putting this together, overseeing the project of rebuilding Jerusalem and the temple. He shall be seen with the plummet in hand. Now the plummet is a piece of heavy metal that looks like a tear drop kind of idea. So it's kind of round and then it comes to a point, and it's suspended on a rope. Now this is important because of the law of gravity. Okay, we live on a round surface. Our Earth is round. Granted, it's big enough that it feels flat, but it's round. Okay, if you flew around it, you'd come right back up. It'd just keep going. But the thing is, gravity is pulling down. Now, gravity's not actually pulling down, but pulling to the center. So by doing this, it's pulling a perpendicular line down, which means if you hold this end of the string and the bob hangs down, it will show you vertical perfectness, basically, up and down. It's a measuring tool. So the prophet Joseph Smith, in fact, changed this phrase in here of "they are the eyes of the Lord" to "the servants of the Lord who run throughout the earth," basically. That's what it is, that the servants will run around, the prophets and others will run around the whole earth to teach and help people. So verse 11, "Then answered I and said unto him, What are these 2 olive trees upon the right side of the candlestick and upon the left side thereof? And I answered again and said unto him, What be these 2 olive branches which through the 2 golden pipes empty the golden oil out of themselves?" So imagine this. There's the bowl and the candlestick, the 2 trees, and then these trees have branches that stick out and they kind of tip down into a tube that goes down to the bowl, and they're draining the olive oil themselves. They don't have to be, the olives aren't picked and harvested and smashed to get the oil out. It's the tree is draining the oil out for them, basically. Verse 13, "And he answered me and said, Knowest thou not what these be? And I said, No, my Lord. Then said he, These are the 2 anointed ones that stand by the Lord of the whole earth." Very important to look at. Now, through the Old Testament, it's usually a king and a priest. So if we think about the present terms, Zerubbabel, Joshua, basically, they are the symbols, the type and shadow of Christ, the king and the priest. A government and a religious leader, basically. So we could also think, though, Abraham and David could fit that same idea of government and religious leaders, basically. So who is the King of Kings and Lord of Lords? Jesus Christ, the representative of him. He will both hold the position of king and high priest. Okay, when it comes to the New Jerusalem, to Zion and the Old Jerusalem and all that stuff, he will rule the government from one and rule religiously from another. He will hold both titles in one, basically. David kind of held that too a little bit at his time. That was kind of the king-priest type idea, and then they eventually separated out. But Christ will have both of them. Zion and Jerusalem basically will hold both titles. Now in Revelations 11, 2 prophets in the last days during the apostasy time is this. It could be another idea of here of 2 anointed ones that stand by the Lord of the whole earth. Remember, there's 2 prophets prophesied that will be in Jerusalem. They'll be fighting against the big armies in the Battle of Armageddon. They're pushing them back. These armies figure out how to defeat those 2 men. They get killed. 3 days later, they're resurrected, and they help in defending Israel, basically. So they will provide light to the darkness. Basically, they are going to be helping in this. So there's some duality in this revelation we're seeing in this one as well. But some powerful ideas representing Christ and wonderful things for us to think about. Christ is there to help us. He's paying the price for us. His atonement is there. The olive oil, the press, the blood coming out of every pore of Christ. It's all there in this revelation to understand that Christ is coming to pay the price. He will be the king. He will be the high priest. He'll have it all together. He's the one you want to follow. He's the one that we need to focus on and be true in ourselves and our following of him, basically. So let's jump over to the next chapter as we continue to learn more from Zechariah.